everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I felt like making a kind of chatty video all about trauma, ADHD and eating disorders, because I kind of feel like eating disorders are one of those things that are kind of shied away from because it feels kind of intense and people don't want to talk about their weight or body weight. So I kind of just want to make an open conversation here, talking about all things that are on my mind. And yeah, I'm kind of just hoping this video will help someone out, because I really wish I'd had this when I was going through my journey of eating disorder and everything. So I'll give my full backstory, all of it, and I'll explain how it links into like ADHD, trauma, my upbringing, and like where I am now, how I kind of, I guess, healed my relationship with food. I don't want to say healed because I feel like that sounds weird. I just feel like my relationship with my body, myself, my food is a lot healthier. It's no way in any means perfect. I still have days where I binge eat, I still go to food for comfort, but that's okay, we're all human. Okay, so to give some of my backstory, by the way, I'm really sorry, the neighbor's dogs are barking so much. Like, there's a lot of noise going on and I'm hoping it won't carry through onto here. Is I had a bit of a traumatic childhood. Looking back, I'm actually able to say that now. I used to cringe and feel very shameful about it in the past. I still do feel that shame, but I'm coming to terms with it. It's getting better. So looking back, my eating disorder actually started at a very young age. I remember being very lonely at nighttime because my caregivers just like weren't present and there was a lot of stuff going on, and I remember eating bowls and bowls of cereal in front of the TV. So looking back, that was a big source of comfort for me. I used to watch like The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody while eating cereal. That was just like my comfort. Oh, and Wizards of Waverly Place. Okay, and then fast forward to when I was about 12 years old. This is where everything really started to kind of, I guess, intensify. So my family and I moved, and it was a pretty traumatic move in itself, and I was actually bullied at the school I went to. I only stayed at that school for about a year, but that's when my eating disorder fully started. I just stopped eating at one point because looking back, I was just so unhappy, and it actually had nothing to do with my weight. I don't really know what was going through my head. I think because I was so dissociated and my family life was a mess, my school life was a mess, everything was just like very painful. And yeah, looking back, I kind of just made this random decision to stop eating and see how long I could go without eating. And yeah, it's sad. I feel a bit like emotional talking about it, but I think it's good to be vulnerable because it does still feel painful that like no one noticed that I wasn't eating. And I don't know if my subconscious, it was a way of trying to maybe get someone's attention or like a cry for help, and if it was, that's totally okay. My therapist brought up a really good point the other day. Yo, I can feel myself getting anxious talking about it, so I think it's like a good healthy thing to bring out to the open. So yeah, my therapist mentioned that at the school I was at and with the bullying, I told her how like I just wanted to disappear. Like I would sometimes hide in the bathrooms. I just wanted to like make myself small and disappear because I wanted it to stop. Like I didn't attempt to fit in with the cool kids. I didn't actually try to do anything to fit in. I just wanted to disappear. Like that was all. I wanted to escape. And she said she thinks I literally was trying to make myself smaller by not eating, and that's like one of the root causes. And when she said that, like a light bulb went off in my head. I was like, that makes a lot of sense, because I just didn't want to take up space. I wanted to feel small. I wanted to get away and escape. And now that I'm on my healing journey, I feel myself kind of wanting to take up more space. I feel like I want my voice to be heard, and that's kind of scary for me, and it almost feels selfish when in fact it's just assertiveness. And another thing she mentioned to me, which I think is a really good point, this happened a few weeks ago after I was triggered. My dad was on the phone. Actually, I call him biological father now because I'm sorry, he was not a dad. That is not a parent, a dad. Okay, that's my angry side coming out. Anyway, yeah, he phoned the other day and I got really triggered. I'm gonna fidget while I do this because like this is kind of nerve-wracking for me to talk about, but I want to help people and I want to show that we're all human. Okay, yes, back to the point. My dad phoned, and after that I just felt myself feeling really upset inside, and I couldn't figure out what I was feeling. But the first thing that popped into my head, and the amazing thing was that I was actually aware of this when in the past I wouldn't have been aware of what my subconscious was doing. I found myself saying to myself, I'm not going to eat for 2 days. So then I sat back with myself and I journaled it out a bit, and I was like, that is one really strange reaction. Like I was triggered by my dad, I felt like I wasn't heard, I felt unsafe and all these things, and my reaction was to not eat. So I told my psychologist this, or therapist, whatever you want to call it, and she said, that's a form of self-harm. And that really struck a chord with me because I used to self-harm a lot. And she said, you're feeling anger inside towards him and you're taking that anger out on yourself. And I think that was a really beautiful and true representation, because if you didn't know, self-harm tends to often be kind of like one of maybe three main things. One of the very common ones is that the anger we feel like we can't express because of how we were raised. We just were never allowed to express anger, or anger was seen as a bad thing in our family, or something went wrong in our family life in our childhood, so we can't we can't express anger, and maybe we're too scared to express anger, and that's fair enough because maybe we had a very scary parent who expressed anger in a terrifying way. So now we kind of express anger internally and we take it out on ourselves, and that's how self-harm can happen. And then other forms of self-harm can be like, you know, wanting to numb out. So I did self-harm for a variety of reasons. It was mainly the anger and then wanting to numb out and not feel anything. And yeah, by the way, I'm going to put a trigger warning at the beginning of this video because I realize this is quite a triggering subject and everything. So yeah, when she said I was self-harming by not letting myself eat, that really struck a chord. And I kind of wish someone had told me that earlier, because my relationship with food has been very up and down, like a roller coaster throughout the years. And I could never understand why, when my mental health would decline, I would take it out on my body image and food so much. So yeah, since being more aware of that, I've kind of been mindful of it. And sometimes I still do get those thoughts popping into my head telling me not to eat. So I guess I try to be mindful of them. I don't try to fight the thoughts, because I think when I try to fight them and I have a lot of resistance towards those thoughts, it kind of makes it harder. So yeah, just being mindful, and I'm trying to be gentle with myself and tell myself it's okay. Then on another note with my eating disorder, so after I starved myself at that one school when I was about 12, I then kind of went into a full-on eating disorder. I don't know if I want to call it a full-on eating disorder, but I might do, because it then did become about my weight. You know, as you go into the teen years, I started to obsess about my body image. I was on Tumblr a lot. I obsessed about my weight, wanting to be perfect, wanting to have a thigh gap, all these things. And I feel kind of silly and stupid talking about it now, but I know it's not silly and stupid, and I know it's valid, and I know I just wanted to feel loved and accepted, and I thought my only way in life to feeling loved and accepted was by being completely and utterly perfect. And you know, that's fair enough because of how I was brought up. Anyway, throughout my teen years, I had a bit of a torturous relationship with food. I'd go a few months feeling fine, not giving a care in the world about food, and then other months I'd be obsessing and then wanting to count calories. But then my ADHD would kick in and I'd be too lazy to even count calories, so that didn't even work out for me. So yeah, I've gone through periods of pretty intense binge eating, and I would just zone out and watch TV for like 4 hours, watch my favorite series and binge eat and escape the world. And back then, because I was young, I didn't really know what I was doing. At 13, I didn't really know I was binge eating and dissociating, and looking back I can see now I was trying to escape the pain. So one thing I like to ask myself a lot nowadays when I feel the urge to just want to eat my feelings, I'll ask myself, what does eating give to me that I'm currently lacking? Because I'm beginning to realize, especially after listening to Gabor Mate, if you haven't listened to him, I highly recommend, and he just released a documentary called The Wisdom of Trauma, and it was just so beautifully done, and it teaches us compassion for ourselves. And sorry, random tangent. Anyway, beginning to have compassion for myself and ask myself, what does the eating give me? Because I'm beginning to view the eating disorder as not an inherently bad thing. So it's not morally good or bad, it's just a coping mechanism I developed, and I no longer need that coping mechanism. But my body doesn't know that, because my body still feels the trauma. So I'm fidgeting. So I kind of tell myself, you know, eating, you're giving yourself some emotion maybe that you're lacking inside, and that's okay. Like, if you need to give yourself that, do it. If you can figure out the emotion, that'd be great. If you can't, don't beat yourself up for not feeling the emotion or not figuring out what the emotion is. But for the most part, I think food gives me an escape from my own discomfort, whether that be the fact that I feel like I'm not being productive enough and that I'm feeling pain and hurt from my childhood. Food will give me an escape and will give me comfort. And I realize a lot of the time I'm craving comfort, nurturance, and safety, and food gives me that. So now when I get the urge to binge eat, I ask myself, okay, like what am I missing? What am I craving? And usually it's comfort, and I'll ask myself, are there any other ways I could give that to myself? And if not, that's okay. Totally allowed to go eat. Eating is not morally bad, it's not morally good, it's just food, it's just eating. So yeah, this whole idea of something not being morally good or bad has also helped me a lot with the whole eating journey and everything, because I feel like a lot of us view certain foods as inherently good or bad, like eating the chocolate and cake for breakfast is not inherently a bad thing. It's not morally wrong. It's totally okay. I mean, in some cultures, lots of, Europe, people will eat pastries and sweets for breakfast, and it's not the end of the world. So I found myself having to question a lot of my ideals and ideas about food, and I'm just questioning a lot of things. And like yesterday, I ate a bunch of junk food, and it was almost like a challenge to myself to say, like, there was nothing wrong with doing it, that it was just what I was craving, and it was totally okay to eat that. I'm the only person who's judging me. Like, no one else is actually judging me for what I choose to eat today. So it's kind of freeing and kind of scary at the same time to view food like this and not think, okay, I have to eat something healthy today, I have to be wholesome, and rather just letting my body eat whatever it wants to eat. It's a very strange, freeing experience, and I don't even know how to describe it. And like some days I'll find myself not eating for a while, and then the voice in my head will say, you need to be healthy and nourish your body and eat every few hours so you have good blood sugar. So then I'll challenge that and be like, am I actually hungry? Do I actually feel like eating? And sometimes no, sometimes yes. So kind of, I guess it's all about being in tune with your body, and that's something that's really helped me a lot. And then I kind of want to go down the ADHD kind of rabbit hole of, yeah, eating disorder and whatnot. So a lot of people with ADHD actually do struggle with binge eating because of, I guess, our lack of impulse control and that lack of dopamine. Food gives us dopamine, which makes complete sense. And also ADHD, we sometimes tend to get, you know, a bit like completely lost in a hobby for an entire day and forget to eat, and then around comes evening and we're starving and then we eat the whole world. I just want to say, if you do that, it's okay. Like, you're human, it's okay. I used to beat myself up so much for this. I used to think, why can't I just be normal? Why can't I just eat regular meals throughout the day? And now instead of fighting it, I honestly just go with it and I stop judging myself. And I still have days where I judge myself, and sometimes I beat myself up for judging myself. But that's totally okay, and I'm learning that it's okay. So I kind of just want this video to give hope and acceptance to anyone who might be struggling with this. And even if you don't have ADHD and you don't have trauma and you struggle with binge eating and you struggle with a wonky relationship with food, I just want you to know you are human. There is nothing wrong with you. I personally think society, we don't talk about these things enough, and we try to be perfect and we think we have to be perfect to be loved, but nothing about being human is perfect. And I think it's beautiful to embrace all our little vulnerabilities and all our little quirks. So yeah, if you have any questions about eating disorders or want to pop me an email, I'll definitely reply, because I think I really wish I'd had this kind of video when I was going through all this stuff. So yeah, if you do have ADHD and that's like your main reason for struggling with food, I recommend setting timers on your phone, or like setting reminders on your phone to eat. I've been doing this, although sometimes I ignore the reminders, because ADHD, as soon as we're told to do something, we then don't want to do the thing. So yeah, sometimes I'll put reminders on my phone to eat lunch so that I don't like have a massive sugar crash and get really irritable, because that does happen too. I get hangry. I'm kind of just exploring having a more balanced relationship with food, and I'm exploring different extremes almost, and realizing neither is good or bad. It's not a bad thing to forget to eat all day. It's not a terrible thing. I'm not being a horrible person. So also working with those feelings of shame and guilt. And then another kind of tip I wanted to bring up, because I had this moment the other day of realization, because I've been doing a lot of inner child work, and this one helped me so much with the eating issues. So I said to myself, it was one of those days I got lost in my hobbies, and then it was evening, I was starving, and I ate a bunch of sugary junk food. Yeah, I have a sweet tooth, a big sweet tooth, and I love chocolate. Anyway, so I ate a bunch of junk food, and then I found myself saying afterwards, would you treat a 5-year-old like this? And I was thinking to myself, like, I would not starve a 5-year-old all day and then make them eat a crap ton of sugar in the evening. Like, I don't think a 5-year-old would like that. A 5-year-old would get irritable and want food throughout the day. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm not treating myself very nicely. Like, my inner child, this is not very nice treatment. Like, my inner child just wants nourishment and wants her basic needs met and just wants to be loved and accepted. And I had that light bulb moment. I was like, oh wow, I should maybe try like feed myself throughout the day. And it sounds really silly saying it out loud, but it was such a moment for me in my mind. I was like, if I were parenting my 5-year-old self, I would not do this to them. So why am I doing it to myself now? So yeah, that was one of the moments I had. And since then, I've found it almost a lot easier to eat throughout the day and not binge eat at night, because I was doing that thing where I would also sometimes try not to eat throughout the day so I could make up for all the calories I would eat at night, because that was going through my head a lot as well. That would help you guys out. I don't know, the inner child healing kind of thing, it really helps me out a lot. And along with that is body image acceptance. So again, with inner child healing, I feel like I've been, talking to my inner child a lot lately and realizing she just wants to be loved and accepted no matter her body shape, her body size, and just wants to feel comfortable in her own skin and be loved. And I don't know, a really beautiful exercise I like to do is I imagine my 5-year-old self just like in front of me and giving her a big warm hug, and sometimes it makes me tear up because I think that's what I needed as a kid. Yeah, I just really needed that as a kid. I just needed acceptance and needed to know I was normal and okay, and that everything was going to be okay. So yeah, I highly recommend doing inner child healing throughout this journey if you do have an eating disorder. Another thing I want to mention, if you have an eating disorder, there's most likely something underlying, because back in the day when my eating disorder was all over the place, like full-fledged, I thought I just needed to fix the eating. And now I know I had to not fix what was underneath, but address what was underneath and have compassion for myself. And I feel like the greatest thing I've learned on this healing journey is self-compassion. Like, self-compassion is an absolute game changer, and I also wish I'd known that earlier. Like, just accepting myself and realizing I can't hate myself into loving myself. And I feel like that sounds kind of weird, but hear me out. I feel like a lot of us will say, I'll love myself or accept myself once I'm this weight, or once I look like this, or once I have my life together, or I'll love myself once I am one of those people who has a regular routine and eats steadily throughout the day and has a completely normal relationship with food. But the thing is, we can't use hate to love ourselves, if that makes sense. We kind of have to accept ourselves the way we are right now, and that'll lead us into acceptance, and then that'll kind of help the eating disorder. So I don't know if that made any sense. I'm not the greatest at explaining things, but I really want to try and get this message out there that, yeah, you can't really hate yourself into loving yourself. Which I was trying to do that. I was trying to tell myself, once I have my life together, once I am a regular human, once I stop having these thoughts about eating problems, I will love myself then and accept myself then. And yeah, recently, in the past 6 months or so, I've been learning to love myself just as I am. And it's hard, but it can also be fun and interesting to explore yourself and explore your inner child and explore all these parts of yourself. I hope this helped all you beautiful human beings, because we are all beautiful human beings and we all deserve love and equality. And yeah, if you enjoyed this kind of like chatty video, I've been wanting to do something like this for so long, but I felt too scared to put this out there. But yeah, I'm working on being vulnerable. My heart's racing a little bit because I don't usually talk about this kind of stuff, especially eating disorders, because it links so much in with like my shame and guilt and all of that. All those fun emotions. But yeah, if you'd like a video on dealing with like shame and guilt and working through that stuff, or inner child healing, I'd be more than happy to make a video on that. So just like let me know in the comments down below. And I'm gonna link Luna in the description down below, because I have free worksheets on there for like inner child healing, trauma healing, and I need to make some more worksheets on ADHD. So they'll be coming soon, and I might do a worksheet on eating disorders. So it's helped you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!